My name is Samantha Hill, and I'm about to tell you about the night I became invisible to my own family. I'm 32 years old, and for most of my life, I've been what you'd call forgettable. Not in a tragic way, just in that quiet, unremarkable way that happens to some people in families where everyone else shines a little brighter. My older brother Brandon is charismatic. My younger brother Christopher is charming, and me, I'm the one people forget to introduce at parties. But here's the thing about being invisible. You see everything, you hear everything, and eventually you learn everything. My mother uninvited me to my brother's engagement party, saying I'd embarrass the family in front of his wealthy future in-laws. My brother Brandon called me a career failure. I decided to go anyway. What they didn't know was that the bride's family just sold their company to mine. I'm not just attending this party, I own it. Let me back up and tell you how we got here, because trust me, you're going to want to hear this whole story. The phone call came on a Tuesday evening. I was in my apartment, a comfortable 2-bedroom in the financial district with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor. Nothing ostentatious, just clean lines and quality furniture. I just poured myself a glass of wine after a particularly brutal 14-hour day negotiating an acquisition deal, and I was looking forward to a quiet evening with a book. My phone lit up with a FaceTime call, not just one name, 3, Mom, Dad, and Brandon. My stomach dropped immediately. In my family, group calls meant one thing: intervention. They were either confronting someone about something, or they were delivering news nobody wanted to deliver alone. I answered, forcing a smile onto my tired face. "Hey everyone! What's going on?" My mother's face filled the screen first. Patricia Hill, 61 years old, with expertly dyed blonde hair and the kind of smile that never quite reaches her eyes. She was sitting in what she called the formal parlor, a room in the house that nobody was ever actually allowed to use unless we had important guests. Samantha. Her voice had that tight quality it always got when she was about to say something unpleasant. "We need to talk about Christopher's engagement party." My father appeared beside her, Richard Hill, 63, with graying temples and the weathered face of a man who'd spent his life pretending to be more successful than he actually was. He wasn't looking at the camera. He never did during these calls. "Okay," I said slowly. "What about it? I already got my dress. I was planning to fly in Friday night." My brother Brandon's face popped into a smaller window. He was in what looked like a bar, probably already on his 3rd cocktail, even though it was only 7. "Sam, we need to be real with you for a second." I felt the familiar prickle of anxiety crawling up my spine. "Be real about what?" My mother took a breath, as if steeling herself. "Christopher's fiancée, Elena, comes from a very prominent family, very successful. Her father just sold his technology company, and they're in a different league than what we're used to." I blinked. "Okay. That's great for Christopher. I'm happy for him." "The thing is," Brandon cut in, and I could hear the condescension dripping from his voice, even through the phone speaker, "this party is really important, like, really important. Elena's parents are going to be there, all their society friends, potential business connections for Chris and me." "We want everything to be perfect," my mother continued. "And we've been thinking, given the circumstances, that maybe it would be better if you didn't attend." The words landed like a physical blow. I actually felt my breath catch in my throat. "I'm sorry, what?" My father finally spoke, his voice gruff and uncomfortable. "Your mother and I think it might be best if you sat this one out, Sam. Just this once. The Rothschilds are very particular people." "Particular about what?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. "I'm his sister. Why wouldn't I be there?" Brandon laughed, actually laughed, and it was the ugliest sound I'd ever heard. Come on, Sam, don't make this harder than it has to be. Look, Elena's family's worth like $200 million. They move in circles where people have real careers, real success. They don't need to meet someone who peaked in college. The room started to tilt. Someone who peaked in college. Is that what you think of me? Sam! My mother's voice turned syrupy, the way it did when she was trying to manipulate someone into agreeing with her. You have to understand, your little marketing job is fine for you, but it's not exactly impressive. Elena's father asked Christopher what his family does, and it was already awkward trying to explain your situation. My situation. You know what I mean. Brandon has his investments, Christopher is in finance, your father had his career, but you're just sort of there. We don't want the Rothschilds asking uncomfortable questions about why you're so, she waved her hand vaguely, ordinary. The word hung in the air between us, ordinary, but what she really meant was disappointing. What she meant was embarrassing. So you're uninviting me to my own brother's engagement party because you think I'll embarrass you? I couldn't keep the hurt out of my voice. Don't be dramatic, Brandon snapped. This isn't about you. This is about Christopher's future. Elena could be the one, and we can't have you bringing down the family image just because you're insecure about your career choices. My father cleared his throat. It's just for this one event, Samantha. We'll make it up to you. Maybe we can do a family dinner next month, just us. Maybe, my mother echoed. We'll see how things go. I looked at each of their faces on the screen. My mother, brittle and anxious. My father, weak and complicit. My brother, sneering and superior. And I thought about the truth they didn't know. The truth nobody knew except my CFO and my lawyers. I see, I managed to say, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. You don't want me there. We knew you'd understand, my mother said, relief flooding her features. You were always the practical one, Sam. The call ended. The screen went black. I sat there in my beautiful apartment in my comfortable chair, holding my glass of wine, and I felt something inside me crack clean through. But here's what they didn't know. Here's the secret I'd been keeping for 8 years. I opened my laptop. The screensaver showed my company logo, a sleek, geometric design with the letters SH. I pulled up my email and scrolled to the one I'd been avoiding all day. Subject line, Rothschild acquisition, final documents, signed. Alana's family, the impressive Rothschilds with their $200 million technology company, had just sold their entire business to Hill Tech Innovations. My company, the company I founded in my grandmother's garage when I was 24, the company that was now valued at over $400 million. I was SH, the anonymous CEO that the tech world had been trying to meet for years. The mysterious founder who preferred to let my executives be the public face while I built an empire in the shadows. And my family, my status-obsessed appearances are everything family, had just uninvited me to a party designed to impress people who'd been trying to meet me for months. I picked up my phone and sent a single text to my mother. I'll be there. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Then I called my assistant. Rebecca, I need you to book the presidential suite at the Four Seasons for this Saturday and schedule a fitting appointment for tomorrow. I need a dress that makes a statement. Of course, Miss Hill. May I ask what the occasion is? I smiled, cold and sharp. Family reunion. They thought I was ordinary. They thought I was embarrassing. They thought I'd peaked in college. But they had no idea what was coming next. And the beautiful, terrible irony was that I didn't need to do anything except show up and be exactly who I'd always been. The truth was the trap, and they'd built it themselves. To understand what happened at that engagement party, you need to understand how I became invisible in the first place. Because I wasn't born this way. I was erased, piece by piece, year by year, until the only role I had left in my family was the one they'd assigned me: the disappointment. It started when I was 12 years old. I'd spent 6 months building a working model of a sustainable energy grid for the state science fair. 6 months of research, coding, soldering circuits in my bedroom until my fingers were covered in tiny burns. I won first place. I qualified for nationals. I was so proud I could barely breathe. The award ceremony was on a Saturday afternoon in April. My parents promised they'd be there. I kept scanning the audience, looking for them. The organizers called my name. I walked up to accept my trophy, and the auditorium was full of families cheering, everyone's families except mine. They'd gone to Brandon's Little League game instead. He played for exactly 1 inning before the coach benched him for the rest of the season. They got home at 6, smelling like stadium hot dogs and beer. "How was your thing?" my mother asked, already moving toward the kitchen. "I won," I said quietly. "First place. I'm going to nationals." "That's nice, dear." She didn't even turn around. "Brandon almost got a hit today. It was so exciting." My father ruffled Brandon's hair. "That's my boy. Keep practicing, son. You'll be starting lineup next year." Nobody asked to see my trophy. It sat on my desk for 3 years until I finally packed it away in a box in the basement. For all I know, it's still there. That was the pattern. Every achievement of mine was met with polite disinterest, while Brandon's mediocrity was celebrated like he'd cured cancer. And later, when Christopher came along and turned out to be charming, where Brandon was merely entitled, it only got worse. When I was 16, I got accepted to MIT with a full academic scholarship. Full ride, every penny covered. It was the proudest moment of my life up to that point. I walked into the kitchen where my parents were having coffee, and I told them. My mother's face did something complicated. "MIT? In Massachusetts? That's so far away." "It's one of the best schools in the world, Mom, and it's free. The scholarship covers everything." "Well," she set down her coffee cup, "I suppose that's practical. Your father and I were worried about how we'd pay for your college." That was it. That was the entire response. Meanwhile, 3 months later, when Brandon got accepted to the state university, not even the flagship campus, the satellite one, my parents threw him a party. They invited the whole neighborhood. They bought a banner that said, "Congratulations, Brandon." My father made a speech about how proud he was. I spent that party in the kitchen, cutting vegetables for the caterer they'd hired. Nobody noticed. At my tea, I thrived. I was finally around people who valued intelligence, who got excited about ideas, who didn't make me feel like my interests were weird or boring. I double majored in computer science and business. I graduated summa cum laude. I had 3 job offers before I even walked across the stage. My parents didn't come to my graduation. Christopher had a jazz recital the same weekend. He'd been playing saxophone for exactly 4 months, and they decided that was more important. My mother FaceTimed me for 30 seconds while I was in my cap and gown. "Congratulations, sweetie. We're so sorry we couldn't be there. Christopher is just so talented. You understand?" I understood perfectly. But here's where it gets interesting. Here's where the invisible girl started building something they couldn't see. My grandmother Margaret was the only person in my family who ever really saw me. She was my father's mother, a sharp-eyed woman who'd been a mathematics professor before she retired. While the rest of the family dismissed me, she pulled me aside at Christmas dinners and asked about my projects. She actually listened when I talked about code and algorithms and the future of sustainable technology. When I graduated from MIT, she gave me a gift, the keys to her garage and $10,000. Build something, Sammy, she said. She was the only one who called me that. Build something that matters, and don't tell them about it until it's too big for them to ignore. So I did. I moved into a tiny apartment and spent every evening in Grandma's garage. I coded 18 hours a day. I developed a cybersecurity platform that used AI to predict and prevent corporate data breaches before they happened. I was 24 years old, working a day job at a mid-level marketing firm, just like my family thought, and building an empire in the shadows. By the time I was 26, I'd landed my first major client. By 27, I'd incorporated as Hilltech Innovations with Grandma as my silent partner. By 28, I had 15 employees and contracts with 3 Fortune 500 companies. And by 30, when Grandma died, I had $50 million in annual revenue and a secret that would destroy my family's entire worldview. Grandma's funeral was the last time I cried in front of them. She left me a note in her will. "Don't let them make you small, Sammy. The pearls know the truth." The pearls. Her famous pearl necklace, the Hill family heirloom that was supposed to go to the child who brings true honor to the family name. Everyone assumed it would go to Brandon as the eldest son, but Grandma's will specified that the pearls would be held in trust until the appropriate time for revelation. My mother was furious about the ambiguity. My father was confused. And me? I understood exactly what Grandma meant. For the next 2 years, I quietly funded my family's entire lifestyle while they patronized me. It started small. My father needed help with some unexpected tax debt. $20,000 wired from an LLC my lawyers controlled. He thought it was an investment payout. Then Christopher needed help with a down payment on his apartment, a beautiful place in the expensive part of town, way out of his actual price range. $300,000, structured as a family trust distribution that my father claimed to have set up years ago. Christopher never questioned where the money really came from. Brandon was the worst. His business ventures were disasters. Every single one. An app that never launched. A consulting firm that had no clients. A cryptocurrency investment scheme that would have been illegal if he'd actually understood how cryptocurrency worked. I bailed him out over and over, $450,000 over 3 years, all of it funneled through my father, so Brandon could believe he was being supported by Dad's wise investments. My parents' mortgage? I paid it off in full, the country club membership they loved to brag about. My money, the new car my mother drove. Me, the early retirement my father took at 60. That was me too. I did all of it through shell companies and trusts and my father's investment accounts. I did it because some broken part of me still wanted them to love me. Still thought that maybe if I took care of them, supported them, made their lives comfortable, they'd finally see me, finally value me. Instead, they just got more comfortable dismissing me. Last Thanksgiving, I made the mistake of trying to share something about my work. We were all sitting round the table, and my mother was going on about how successful Brandon's latest venture is going to be. This time it was artisanal beard oil, despite Brandon never having had a beard in his life. "That's great," I said. "I actually just closed a deal with a company in Singapore. We're expanding our Asia-Pacific operations." My mother blinked at me. "That's nice, dear. Pass the potatoes." Brandon actually laughed. "Asia-Pacific operations? Sam, you work for a small marketing firm." "What operations?" I started, but Christopher cut me off. "Oh, leave her alone. If Sam wants to pretend her little job is important, let her. It's not hurting anyone." My father nodded. "Christopher's right. No need to brag, Samantha. We're all proud of you in your own way." In your own way. The phrase that meant, we're not proud of you, but we're trying to be polite about it. I stopped trying after that. I kept funding their lives, but I stopped trying to be seen. I accepted that I was a ghost in my own family, present but not really there. The practical one, the responsible one, the boring one who lived alone and had no life and would probably end up as a cat lady someday. That's what they thought of me, and I let them keep thinking it because some part of me was still waiting for them to figure it out, waiting for them to love me without needing to know about the money or the success or the company. I wanted them to love just Samantha, the daughter, the sister, the person, but they didn't. They couldn't, because they'd already decided who I was, and no amount of quiet achievement was going to change their minds. Then came the phone call about Christopher's engagement party, and something inside me finally broke. The morning after they uninvited me, I woke up with perfect clarity. I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was strategic. I looked at the situation the way I looked at a corporate acquisition. Identify the leverage points, understand the players, and execute with precision. I called my CFO, James Chen. James was the only person alive who knew my dual identity. He'd been with me since the beginning, and he was more than my employee. He was my friend, maybe my only real friend. "They did it," I said when he answered. "They actually uninvited me." "Jesus, Sam, I'm sorry." "Don't be, I'm going anyway." There was a pause. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" "James, Elena's family just sold Rothtech to us. Elena Rothschild is marrying my brother, and my family is desperately trying to impress people who've been trying to meet me for 6 months." I could hear him processing this. Then he started laughing, a low, incredulous sound. "Oh my God, they have no idea." "None whatsoever. My mother actually said Elena's family is in a different league from what we're used to." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to attend my brother's engagement party. I'm going to wear a dress that costs more than Brandon's car. I'm going to be perfectly polite, and I'm going to let the truth take care of the rest." "You want me there?" "Please, I need my CFO for moral support." "Wouldn't miss it. This is going to be legendary." I hung up and opened my laptop. I had work to do. I pulled up the Rothschild acquisition files and studied them carefully. Elena's father, Marcus Rothschild, was a self-made man. He'd built Rothtech from nothing, turned it into a powerhouse, and sold it at exactly the right moment. In his personal statement during the acquisition negotiations, he'd written something that stuck with me. "I have no patience for people who confuse privilege with merit." My family was about to try very hard to impress a man who would despise everything they represented. I spent the next few days preparing. I had my lawyers draw up a complete accounting of every dollar I'd given my family over the past 5 years, every mortgage payment, every car loan, every bailout, every trust distribution, all of it documented, notarized, official. Then I had them prepare a second document. Proof that I was the sole trustee of the Hill Family Trust, the mysterious fund my father claimed to control. The trust that paid for their comfortable retirement, their country club, their expensive lifestyle. The trust that was really just my money, filtered through a legal structure I'd set up to protect my anonymity. On Friday evening, I got my hair and makeup done professionally. Nothing dramatic, just polished, elegant. Then I went to the boutique where I'd had a dress custom made. It was a deep emerald green, silk, perfectly tailored, simple and devastating, the kind of dress that whispered money rather than shouted it. I paired it with my grandmother's pearl earrings, not the famous necklace, that reveal would come later, but a smaller pair she'd given me before she died. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself. For once, I wasn't trying to be invisible. I wasn't trying to be small. I looked like exactly what I was, successful, powerful, and done apologizing for it. My mother called 16 times that evening. I let every call go to voicemail. When I finally listened to them, they were escalating panic attacks. Samantha, I am forbidding you from coming to this party. Do you hear me? Forbidding you. If you show up, we will have security remove you. I'm not joking. You are trying to sabotage your brother out of pure jealousy. I should have known you'd try something like this. The last message was from Brandon. Don't do this, Sam. Whatever point you're trying to make, just don't. You'll ruin everything for Chris, and then we'll all know who you really are. A bitter, jealous nobody. I saved every voicemail. Then I turned off my phone and went to bed. Tomorrow was going to be the most interesting day of my life. Saturday morning, I woke up in the presidential suite of the Four Seasons feeling calm. Not nervous, not anxious, just calm. The kind of calm that comes when you finally stopped fighting and started accepting. I wasn't going to this party to make a scene. I wasn't going to confront anyone or cause drama. I was simply going to exist, fully and completely, and let the consequences unfold naturally. The suite was beautiful, all cream and gold with a view of the harbor. I ordered room service, avocado toast and coffee, and sat by the window watching the boats. Somewhere in the same hotel, my family was probably having a collective panic attack. The party started at 7. It was only 10 in the morning. I had 9 hours to wait. My phone buzzed. I'd turned it back on to check my work emails. 47 missed calls, 23 text messages. I scrolled through them. Mother. Samantha, please, please don't do this. I'm begging you. Brandon. If you show up, I will personally throw you out. I mean it. Christopher. Sam? What the hell? Mom said you're coming? Why are you trying to ruin my engagement? And then surprisingly, one from my father. Samantha, I know we handled this badly, but please think about your brother. This is his special day. His special day. The phrase stuck with me. Because when was my special day? When I graduated from MIT? When I started my company? When I closed my first multi-million-dollar deal? None of those days mattered to them, but Christopher's engagement party to a woman he'd known for 6 months, that was sacred ground. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I called James. You ready for this? He asked. I was born ready. Are you bringing the documents? In a leather portfolio that costs more than most people's monthly rent. I figured we'd go all in on the aesthetic. Perfect. Meet me in the lobby at 6:30. We'll arrive fashionably late. Sam. His voice got serious. Are you sure about this? Once you do it, there's no going back. Your family will never forgive you. James, they uninvited me to my own brother's engagement party because they think I'm an embarrassment. There's nothing to forgive. I'm just done pretending to be smaller than I am. Okay, then let's do this. I spent the afternoon working. I reviewed contracts, approved budgets, responded to emails from executives in 3 different time zones. At 4, I took a long bath. At 5, I started getting ready. The dress looked even better than I remembered. The emerald green made my eyes look almost luminous. I kept my makeup simple but precise, my hair up in a classic chignon, the pearl earrings my grandmother gave me, and on my wrist, a watch that was a gift to myself when Hilltech hit its first 100 million in revenue. Understated, elegant, expensive. I looked in the mirror one last time. The invisible girl was gone. In her place was someone my family wouldn't recognize. Me, as I actually was. At 6:30, I met James in the lobby. He was in a perfectly tailored suit, holding a leather portfolio. You look terrifying, he said. Thank you. That's exactly what I was going for. The ballroom was on the 2nd floor. We could hear music and laughter as we approached. There was a table outside with a guest list and a young woman with a clipboard who looked stressed and underpaid. Name? She asked without looking up. Samantha Hill. Her head snapped up. She looked at her list, then at me, then back at her list. There's a note here that says that you might. I RSVP'd directly to Mrs. Rothschild, I said calmly. She's expecting me. The girl's eyes widened. She clearly didn't know what to do. Before she could call someone, I walked past her. James followed. The ballroom was stunning, crystal chandeliers, white roses everywhere, a string quartet playing in the corner. There were maybe 200 people there, all dressed to impress. I recognized some faces from the society pages. This wasn't just an engagement party. It was a statement, my family's way of announcing they'd arrived. And there, near the bar, I saw them. My mother in a red designer dress she'd probably stressed over for weeks. My father in a tuxedo that didn't quite fit. Brandon holding court with a group of younger men, probably boring them with stories about his failed ventures. And Christopher, the man of the hour, looking nervous and eager as he stood next to a beautiful young woman with dark hair and a genuine smile. Elena, the bride-to-be, the woman whose family had just sold their life's work to me. My mother saw me first. The color drained from her face. She grabbed my father's arm so hard he actually yelped. She started walking toward me, her face contorted with barely controlled rage. But before she could reach me, another voice called out, "Samantha! There you are! I was beginning to think you weren't coming." Everyone turned. The speaker was an elegant woman in her late 50s with silver hair and kind eyes. She was walking toward me with genuine warmth, and I recognized her from the acquisition meetings. Teresa Rothschild, Elena's mother. My mother froze mid-step. "Mrs. Rothschild," I said, smiling. "Thank you so much for the invitation. I wouldn't have missed it." "Please call me Teresa. We've heard so little about you." Elena said her fiancé's sister is very private. She took my hand warmly. "Come, you must meet Marcus. He's been curious about Christopher's family." She led me further into the party, past my mother who stood there opening and closing her mouth like a fish, past Brandon whose face had gone slack with confusion, past Christopher who looked like he'd seen a ghost. Teresa brought me to a distinguished man with graying hair and sharp eyes. Marcus Rothschild, Elena's father, the man who'd built a company from nothing and just sold it for $180 million. "Marcus, darling, this is Samantha Hill, Christopher's sister." He turned to me and I saw him take in the dress, the bearing, the confidence. His handshake was firm. "Miss Hill, Christopher's told us so little about you. He said you work in marketing?" Before I could answer, my mother appeared at my elbow. She was smiling, but it was a rictus grin that looked painful. "Samantha works at a small firm," she said quickly. "Nothing very interesting, really. She's very private about her work." "How fascinating," Teresa said. "What kind of marketing?" I opened my mouth to answer, but my mother cut in again. "Oh, basic stuff. Corporate communications, very boring technical things." Brandon had joined us now, with Christopher trailing behind. Both of them looked panicked. "Sam," Brandon said, his voice tight, "I didn't expect to see you here." "Christopher's my brother," I said simply. "Why wouldn't I be here?" Elena appeared, looping her arm through Christopher's. Up close, she was even lovelier. Warm brown eyes and an open, honest face. "You must be Sam. I'm so glad you could make it. Chris has been so mysterious about his family." "Mysterious?" I raised an eyebrow. Christopher looked like he wanted to disappear. "I just told you we're a private family, Elena." "Well, I'm delighted to finally meet you," Elena said, ignoring her fiancé's discomfort. "What do you do, Sam? I'm dying to know." The moment hung in the air. My mother's face was desperate. Brandon looked murderous. Christopher's eyes were pleading, "Don't ruin this!" But I wasn't here to ruin anything. I was just here to stop lying. I work in cybersecurity, I said. Marcus's attention sharpened. Cybersecurity? What area? Corporate data protection, AI-driven threat prevention. That's a hot field right now, Marcus said, genuinely interested. Which firm? My mother made a strangled sound. Marcus, I'm sure you don't want to talk business at a party. Actually, I said, looking him directly in the eye, I run Hilltech Innovations. The silence that fell was absolute. Marcus stared at me. Teresa's mouth fell open. Elena looked confused. And my family looked like they'd been struck by lightning. Hilltech, Marcus said slowly. You run Hilltech. Founded it 8 years ago, we specialize in predictive security algorithms and corporate infrastructure protection. You're SH? It wasn't a question. Marcus's voice was filled with dawning realization. You're the SH. We've been trying to meet you for months. You bought our company. Elena's eyes went wide. Wait, you're the CEO who acquired Rothtech. You? Yes, but Elena turned to Christopher. You said your sister worked in a small marketing department. You said she was... She stopped, clearly trying to find a polite way to finish the sentence. Ordinary, I supplied. Unsuccessful. An embarrassment to the family, that's what they told me on Tuesday when they uninvited me. The words dropped like bombs. The small circle around us had gone completely silent. Other guests were starting to notice the tension and drift closer. My mother's face had turned purple. That's not... We never said... You said I'd embarrass you in front of Elena's family. I kept my voice calm, almost pleasant. You said I peaked in college. You said my little office job was sad. Brandon stepped forward. Sam, that's not what... Brandon, you called me a career failure. You said I was bringing down the family image. Christopher looked like he might be sick. He was staring at Elena, who was staring at me with growing horror, not at me, but at what she was learning about her fiancé's family. I don't understand, Elena said quietly. Your sister runs a $400 million company, and you told me she was... She couldn't finish the sentence. Marcus's expression had gone cold. Very cold. Miss Hill, I think we need to have a conversation, a private one. Of course. Sam. My father finally spoke up, his voice weak. This is all a misunderstanding. We never meant... You meant every word, I said. And that's fine, but now we all know the truth. James had been standing quietly behind me the whole time. Now he stepped forward and handed me the leather portfolio. What is that? My mother whispered. Documentation, I said. Since we're being honest tonight, I thought everyone should know exactly how honest we're being. I opened the portfolio and pulled out the first document. This is a complete accounting of every financial contribution I've made to this family over the past 5 years. Brandon, your business ventures, $450,000 from me. Christopher, your apartment, $300,000 down payment from me. Mom, Dad, your mortgage, paid off in full by me. Your early retirement, your country club membership, your new car, all me. I pulled out the second document. And this is proof that the Hill Family Trust, the one Dad claims to manage, is controlled entirely by me. Every distribution you've received came from my company. The silence was deafening. Brandon had gone white. Christopher was shaking his head like he could deny it away. My father had physically slumped, all the air gone out of him. You've been living off me for years while treating me like I was worthless, I said. You've been spending my money while calling me a failure, and now you tried to erase me from this family entirely to impress people who've been trying to meet me for 6 months. My mother's voice came out as a croak. Why didn't you tell us? Why didn't I tell you? I looked at her with something that might have been pity if there was any feeling left in me for her. Because I wanted you to love me for who I was, not what I had, but you couldn't even do that. You couldn't love me when you thought I had nothing, so why would I trust you with the truth? Teresa Rothschild had tears in her eyes. Miss Hill, I'm so sorry. If we had known. You have nothing to apologize for, Teresa. This isn't your fault. This is what my family chose. Marcus had recovered his composure. His face was like granite. Christopher, he said, his voice cutting through the shocked silence. A word. Now. Christopher followed him like a man walking to his execution. Elena stood there, looking between me and her future in-laws, with an expression of dawning realization that she'd almost married into a nightmare. My mother tried one more time. Samantha, please, we can explain. We can fix this. No, I said simply. You can't, because this isn't a misunderstanding. This is who you are. This is who you've always been. I just finally stopped letting you pretend otherwise. I handed the portfolio to James. I think we're done here. As I walked away, I heard my mother start to cry. I heard Brandon cursing under his breath. I heard the whispers starting to spread through the party like wildfire, and I felt nothing but relief. I didn't leave the party. That would have been too easy, too kind. Instead, James and I walked to the bar and I ordered a glass of champagne. Might as well enjoy the open bar I'd essentially paid for through my family's trust fund distributions. The party had changed. Where before there had been music and laughter, now there was tension and whispered conversations. Everyone had seen the confrontation. Everyone had heard at least pieces of it, and now they were all trying to figure out what the hell just happened. I could feel eyes on me from every direction, some curious, some sympathetic, some calculating. In society circles like this, information was currency, and I'd just devalued my family's social standing to zero while simultaneously revealing myself as one of the most successful CEOs in the city. Teresa Rothschild appeared beside me. Miss Hill, may I speak with you privately? Of course. She led me to a quiet corner of the ballroom, away from the crowds. Up close, I could see the distress in her eyes. I want to apologize, she said. We had no idea. Christopher told us his family was, well, he made it sound like you were all successful but private. He specifically said his sister was shy and didn't like attention. Shy, I repeated. That's one way to put it. My husband is talking with Christopher now. I think you need to know that Marcus is deeply disturbed by what he's learned. He built his company from nothing. His father was a mechanic. His mother cleaned houses. The idea that Christopher's family would treat you this way while spending your money? She shook her head. It goes against everything Marcus values. I appreciate you telling me. Elena is a good girl, Teresa continued. But she's also not naive. She won't marry into a family that treats people like this. I want you to know that. Before I could respond, we were interrupted by a commotion near the entrance. I turned to see my mother being escorted out by my father. She was crying openly now, completely fallen apart. Brandon was arguing with someone, his face red with fury. And Christopher was standing alone near the champagne fountain, watching his entire future crumble. Elena walked past him without a word and came straight to me. Can we talk? She asked. Of course. We found a small alcove with 2 chairs. Elena sat down heavily, her beautiful dress pooling around her. I need you to know I had no idea, she said, about any of it. Christopher told me you were estranged from the family because of some old argument. He made it sound like you were difficult and chose not to be involved. He lied to you. He lied to me about everything. Her voice was bitter. His apartment? He told me he bought it with his own money, that he was this successful finance guy, his car, his lifestyle, all of it. He said his family was old money, established, respectable. We're not old money. My father was a middle manager who retired early. My mother married him for his prospects, which didn't pan out. Brandon has never held a real job. And Christopher, I paused. Christopher's charming, but he's never actually achieved anything on his own. And you? I built a company. I did it quietly because I didn't want the attention, and because I hesitated. Because some stupid part of me thought if my family loved me without knowing about the money, it would mean more. Elena was quiet for a moment. That's not stupid, that's human. It was naive. Maybe. But it was also kind. And they threw it back in your face. She looked down at her engagement ring. My father came from nothing. He built Rothtech in our garage. He taught me that the measure of a person isn't what they have. It's how they treat people who can't do anything for them. Your family treated you like garbage when they thought you were nobody. That tells me everything I need to know. She slipped the ring off her finger and held it in her palm. I can't marry into this. I'm sorry. Christopher might be a victim of his family's values, but he's also an adult who made choices. He chose to lie to me. He chose to go along with uninviting you. He chose to let them treat you like that. You don't owe me an explanation. I owe myself one. She stood up. I'm going to go tell him. Then I'm leaving. But before I do, I want to say thank you. For what? For showing me who they really are before I made the biggest mistake of my life. She walked away, shoulders back, head high. I watched her approach Christopher and saw his face cycle through shock, denial, and finally despair as she handed him the ring. Marcus Rothschild materialized beside me. Miss Hill, I think we should talk business. I raised an eyebrow. At your daughter's engagement party. Former engagement party, he corrected grimly. And yes, because I need you to know that my opinion of Hill Tech and my respect for you professionally hasn't changed. If anything, it's increased. What you've built is remarkable. The fact that you built it while supporting an ungrateful family makes it even more impressive. Thank you. I also want to discuss the Asia-Pacific expansion we talked about during the acquisition. I think my experience could be valuable to your team. Are you proposing a consulting arrangement? I'm proposing that I'm about to have a lot of free time, and I'd rather spend it working with someone I respect than at country club luncheons with people like your parents. I couldn't help it. I laughed. Mr. Rothschild, I think that can be arranged. Marcus, call me Marcus. Sam. He smiled, and it transformed his face. Sam, now there's one more thing I need to tell you. Your grandmother's pearl necklace? I blinked at the sudden change of subject. What about it? Your family's lawyer arrived about 10 minutes ago. Apparently there's a clause in your grandmother's will about the necklace being presented at a significant family gathering. Your mother tried to have him turned away, but I intervened. He's waiting in the anteroom. I thought you should know. The pearls, Grandma's final message. Thank you for telling me. One more thing, Marcus said. Your mother tried to have hotel security remove you. I informed the hotel manager that you're a guest in the presidential suite and that if anyone is removed, it should be her. She left voluntarily after that. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. I don't tolerate bullies, and I don't stand by when someone is being mistreated. He paused. Elena gets her spine from her mother and her sense of justice from me. She's going to be fine. As for Christopher, he shook his head. That's not my problem anymore. The lawyer appeared in the doorway carrying a small wooden box that I recognized from Grandma's house. He scanned the room, saw me, and walked over. Miss Hill, I'm Jonathan Creighton, your grandmother's estate attorney. I have something for you. The party had gone quiet again. Everyone was watching. Christopher stood frozen by the champagne fountain. Brandon had returned and was watching from across the room, his face twisted with jealousy. Even the string quartet had stopped playing. Mr. Creighton opened the box. Inside, nestled in blue velvet, was the Hill family pearl necklace. 3 strands of perfect, luminous pearls with a diamond clasp. It was worth a fortune, but its real value was symbolic. Your grandmother's will stipulated that these pearls were to be presented to the child who brings true honor to the Hill name through character, achievement, and grace. She left a sealed letter naming the recipient. That letter is dated 3 weeks before her death. He pulled out an envelope. Would you like me to read it? Please. His voice carried in the silent ballroom. To my darling Samantha, my Sammy, if you're hearing this, it means you've finally let them see who you really are. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. Not for the money or the success, though those are wonderful, but for staying kind when they were cruel, for staying generous when they were selfish, for staying strong when they tried to make you small. The pearls have always been meant for you. You are the true Hill, the one who honored what this family could have been. Wear them and remember that you were always enough, exactly as you were. With all my love, Grandma Margaret. I felt tears prick my eyes for the first time that night. Mr. Creighton lifted the necklace from the box and held it out to me. May I? He asked. I turned around. He fastened the pearls around my neck. They were cool against my skin, perfect and weighty and right. When I turned back, I saw my mother in the doorway. She'd returned, mascara streaked down her face, just in time to watch me receive the one thing she'd always assumed would go to Brandon. No, she whispered. Those were supposed to be for the successful child, for the one who brought honor to the family name, I finished. Grandma was very clear about that. She just had different values than you do. Brandon stormed over. This is bullshit. Those pearls should be mine. I'm the oldest. This is family tradition. Actually, Mr. Creighton interrupted calmly, family tradition is that the pearls go to the most accomplished child. Historically, that's been the eldest daughter, not the eldest son. Miss Hill's great-great-grandmother started that tradition in 1887. Your mother simply assumed it would change for Brandon. Samantha? My father's voice was pleading. He'd followed my mother back in. Please, the pearls are a family heirloom. You can't just... I can, I said, because Grandma left them to me. Because I'm the one who earned them. And because for the first time in my life, I'm going to accept what I deserve instead of pretending to be less than I am to make you comfortable. I looked at each of them. My mother, broken and crying. My father, diminished and ashamed. Brandon, furious and impotent. Christopher, destroyed and alone. The trust payments stop, I said quietly. All of them, the house payment, the country club, Brandon's allowances, Christopher's car payment, everything. You can't do that, Brandon snarled. That money is family money. That money is my money. I've been funding your entire lives while you treated me like garbage. But that ends tonight. My mother actually fell to her knees. Samantha, please. We're sorry. We didn't understand. If you'd known I had money, you would have treated me differently. That's exactly the problem, Mom. You didn't love me when you thought I was nobody. You only want me now that you know what I have. But it's too late. I turned to James. We're leaving. As I walked toward the exit, Elena caught my eye. She mouthed 2 words. Thank you. I nodded. Then I walked out of the ballroom, out of the hotel, and out of my family's life, wearing my grandmother's pearls, and finally free. The aftermath was swift and brutal. By Sunday morning, the story had spread through every social circle in the city. Patricia and Richard Hill's daughter was actually the mysterious CEO of Hill Tech Innovations. They'd been living off her money while treating her like an embarrassment. They'd uninvited her to a party meant to impress people who were trying to meet her, and it had all exploded in the most public way possible. My mother and father were dropped from the country club within a week. The official reason was failure to pay dues, which was true since I'd been paying them and had now stopped. But everyone knew the real reason. Nobody wanted to be associated with people who'd treated their benefactor that way. Brandon became a cautionary tale, the guy who'd lived off his sister's success while calling her a failure, the guy who'd bailed out 3 failed businesses with her money and learned nothing. I heard through the grapevine that he tried to start another venture and couldn't find investors. Nobody wanted to fund someone that stupid. Christopher and Elena's breakup made the society pages. The Rothschilds were discreet, but the story leaked anyway. Engagement ended by mutual agreement after fundamental incompatibilities were discovered. Elena was spotted having lunch with me the following week, and that told everyone all they needed to know about where the fault lay. I wasn't cruel. I didn't have to be. I made sure my parents wouldn't be homeless. I arranged through my lawyers for a small, clean condo in a retirement community on the other side of the city. 2 bedrooms, paid for, in their names. It was more than they'd offered me. They'd offered me nothing, but I wasn't them. I cut off the allowances, the trust payments, the subsidies. But I made sure they had a roof and enough to live modestly. They could keep their dignity if they chose to. They just couldn't keep their lifestyle. Brandon had to get a real job for the first time in his life. Last I heard, he was working in insurance sales and hating every minute of it. Christopher moved to a different city. Portland, I think. Started over somewhere. Nobody knew his story. The first month was strange. I kept expecting to feel guilty, to feel like I'd been too harsh, but I didn't. I felt lighter, like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't even know was there until I finally put it down. James and I had dinner a month after the party. We were at a quiet restaurant downtown, celebrating closing a deal with a major international client. "How are you doing?" he asked. "Really doing? Honestly, I'm great. I know that sounds cold, but I feel like I can breathe for the first time in years." "It's not cold, it's healthy." He raised his glass. "A putt to freedom." "To freedom?" "Have you heard from them?" "Letters, lots of letters. At first they were angry. Brandon sent me a 10-page rant about family loyalty and betrayal. My mother wrote that I'd destroyed her life and she'd never forgive me." "Charming." Then the letters changed. They got apologetic, pleading. My father wrote that he understood why I was angry but asked if we could try to rebuild. My mother said she'd been wrong and wanted a chance to make it right. "Are you going to respond?" As I thought about it, no. Because they're not sorry about how they treated me. They're sorry about the consequences. They're sorry they lost their lifestyle. If I suddenly lost my company tomorrow, if I became poor, they'd go right back to treating me like garbage. That's who they are. Fair. The only one I feel anything for is Christopher. He's young. He got caught up in the family dysfunction, but he also made his choices. He went along with uninviting me. He lied to Elena. Maybe this will teach him something. 6 months later, I was in Singapore for the launch of our Asia-Pacific division. Marcus Rothschild had come on as a consultant, and his expertise had been invaluable. Elena had joined Hilltech as my VP of Acquisitions, and she was brilliant at it. We were on the roof of our new Singapore office, looking out at the glittering skyline. It was a party, but a real one this time. My team, people who knew me, respected me, valued me. Elena clinked her glass against mine. "To new beginnings." To new beginnings. I got a letter from Christopher, she said. Oh? He apologized, said he's in therapy, said he's trying to understand why he became the person he became. She paused. I think he meant it. Are you going to respond? I already did. I told him I appreciated the apology, but that we were done. He needs to fix himself for himself, not to get me back. That's fair. Your family made me see something important, Elena said. Blood doesn't make family. Love makes family. Respect makes family. And sometimes the family you choose is the only real family you get. I looked around at the people on that rooftop. James, who'd been with me since the beginning, Elena, who'd become a real friend, Marcus, who'd become a mentor, my team, who respected me for my work, not my name. You're right, I said. This is my family. The pearl necklace felt warm against my skin. I touched it gently, thinking of my grandmother. She knew, I said quietly. What? My grandmother. She knew that one day I'd have to choose between being loved for who they wanted me to be and being respected for who I actually was. She knew I'd eventually choose respect. She sounds like she was a wise woman. She was the only one who saw me, really saw me. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I opened it. Sam, it's Mom. I heard about the Singapore launch. Congratulations. I'm proud of you. I know I have no right to say that. I know I lost that right. But it's true. I'm sorry for everything. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know. I stared at the message for a long moment, then I deleted it. Elena watched me. Your mother? Yes. You okay? I'm fine. She says she's proud now. But she wasn't proud when she thought I was nobody. That's the difference. You don't owe her forgiveness. I know. And maybe someday I'll feel differently. Maybe someday enough time will pass that I'll be able to talk to them again. But right now, I looked out at the city I'd helped make more sustainable, at the company I'd built, at the life I'd created. Right now, I'm exactly where I need to be. A year after the engagement party, I received a formal letter from my family's lawyer. My parents wanted to have a meeting. They wanted to discuss reconciliation. The letter said, to make things right. I thought about it for exactly one day. Then I drafted a response. Dear Mr. Creighton, thank you for your letter on behalf of Richard and Patricia Hill. I have considered their request for a meeting. After careful thought, I must decline. The relationship we had was built on a fundamental imbalance. They loved what I could provide, not who I was. That kind of love isn't real, and I have no interest in rebuilding it. I bear them no ill will. I have provided them with adequate housing, and I hope they find peace in their lives. But I don't need their approval anymore. That's the gift they gave me when they pushed me away. They freed me from caring what they think. Please convey my regards and my final answer. No! Sincerely, Samantha Hill. I sent the letter and felt nothing but relief. My real life was here, with people who'd earned their place in it. James, who'd been loyal from the start. Elena, who'd had the courage to walk away from a lie. Marcus, who'd shown me what a real parent looked like. My team, who valued competence and integrity. This was my family now. The one I'd chosen, the one that chose me back. I thought about the girl I'd been at 12, standing alone in an auditorium holding a trophy nobody came to see. I thought about the girl at 16 who got into MIT and was met with indifference. I thought about the woman at 24, coding alone in a garage, building something that would change her life. I thought about all the times I'd tried to be enough for them, all the times I'd made myself small, quiet, forgettable, hoping that if I just didn't take up too much space, they might finally see me. And then I thought about the woman I was now, successful, respected, free, wearing my grandmother's pearls, running a company worth hundreds of millions, surrounded by people who saw me clearly and loved what they saw. The best revenge isn't proving them wrong. The best revenge isn't even success. The best revenge is getting to a place where you no longer need their approval to know your own worth. I am Samantha Hill. I am brilliant, successful, and enough exactly as I am. And I learned that not because of my family, but despite them. That's my story. The story of how I became invisible and how I chose to be seen. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been treated as invisible by the people who should have seen you? Have you ever been the family ATM while being treated like you were worth nothing? Have you ever had to choose between being yourself and being accepted? Tell me in the comments. Share your story. And remember, you don't need anyone's permission to be exactly who you are. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about finding your power, choosing yourself, and the sweet justice that comes when people finally see what they lost. Because here's the truth they don't want you to know. The moment you stop trying to earn love from people who won't give it, the moment you walk away from people who diminish you, the moment you choose yourself, that's when your real life begins. Mine did. And I've never looked back.